Hey guys, Steve here. Welcome to this edition of the Poker Video Newsletter, Beat Small Stakes. I'm your host, Steve Papalanis, and I get a lot of messages about people asking, when should I stop playing if I'm losing? How many buy-ins should my stop loss be at? Even if the game is really good, really juicy, there's a lot of action. If I've lost two, three, four buy-ins, should I stick around? Should I go? What should I do? So I wanted to sort of address these points in this edition of the newsletter and start off by showing this nice, beautiful stack. It 1-3. This is at the Ameristar in Blackhawk, Colorado, where I used to live about an hour away. And this was from a very busy weekend, like a holiday weekend. I think it was probably Memorial Day, and they had a bad beat jackpot, a descending bad beat jackpot going, which means it starts out at like quads beaten, like quad fives or sixers or better beaten, and then it just keeps descending. So the next week it's quad fours beaten or threes or twos, and then it goes to like the full houses. So what this does when this jackpot gets over like $500,000, the card room is busy 24/7. Throw a busy holiday weekend on top of that. This was a really action-packed weekend. This was like an early Saturday afternoon I got there. Been there probably 2 hours. And here again, this is 1-3. And if you count it up, this is about $2,000, which is about what I left at. Now, that's not how these things started. This session was a nightmare for the first couple hours. It just seemed like everything I did, I got sucked out on. Somebody stuck around with second pair and they spiked two pair in the river. Somebody backdoored a straight or a flush on me, just one after another. And I was just treading water and I was pretty much even. And I was getting really frustrated, but there was lots of action. There were a lot of players splashing, calling. The mood was really good. It was just a really fun atmosphere. Plus the excitement of the bad beat jackpot, because even if you're at the table and it hits and you're in the hand, you get something like you get to split up 10% of that pot with everybody. A nice payout for sure if you happen to get lucky. So everyone's in a good, fun gambling mood. And I want to share with you a particular hand actually that happened. So here I am. This one was really driving me nuts. This is a few hours into the session. I'm sitting around my buy-in of 500. Pretty standard mix of players, but it's just been a very splashy, action-packed table. So under the gun limps, under the gun plus one limps, another limp from the hijack. I'm with pocket sevens here. I raised to 20. I don't think this is going to win the pot. I'm just trying to build a nice pot here in position in the cutoff so I can steal a post flop or build a big pot and maybe we spike a seven. So we end up getting three callers, and best case scenario, we do spike a seven. There's an obvious flush draw out there. There's a king out there, and it's check to me. So in game flow, I fire out 50 here, about 2/3 pot, pretty standard. We do want to charge the flush draws, and anybody with a king is certainly sticking around for this price. Under the gun plus one calls, hijack folds. Okay, heads up going to the turn. Pretty nondescript 10, right? Really shouldn't be an issue here. He checks to us, and we're definitely going for value here. We want to really charge him if he is chasing spades or if he just has a mediocre king, like a king jack kind of hand. We definitely want to charge him and set it up for an easy river shove if he does call. And he calls pretty quickly. We bet pretty much pot at 150. So the pot now has ballooned to 484. Both of us were right around 500 at the start. So our stack to pot ratio is about 3-5 here. So it's a pretty easy shove and likely a call for him on the river. But what I don't like is what happens here on the river. He just open shoves for 280. Now looking at this board, what could he have? Well, he could have, say, a slow played set of threes. That could make sense. He could have been chasing spades and maybe he backdoored two pair with like 7-6 of spades. He could have something like that. He didn't open pre-flop. He just limp called. But he could be a weaker player. Maybe he called with 8-9 of spades here and he just hit a runner straight. I'm not really sure, but at this point he could have spiked something like two pair or maybe a worse set. We have to call at this point. And we see the bad news. He limp called with 4-5 offsuit and called down to the river where he spiked his gut shot, his 4-outer on me, which means he had roughly 8-9% to get there when he calls the turn bet. There goes $500. I'm pretty upset, of course, because he just spiked a just naked gut shot on me. He didn't have a flush draw or a pair or anything else. He was literally just chasing a six, and he got there. Now, it's really easy to go on monkey tilt and lose your mind in a spot like this, which part of me certainly did. But at the same time, you have to take a look at what just happened. This guy was calling down on a wing and a prayer, and he hit his miracle 4-outer on the river to win this pot. These things happen, but what I want you to do is when something like this happens, you know the table is good and you're getting good action. Look at how this player played this and realize just how insanely lucky he got. This is actually a good thing. You don't want to leave a table like this because a guy like this is calling you down for about half his stack to the turn on just a gut shot. So this is a great sign that this game is great. It's loose. These players are putting money in. They're certainly gambling. They're chasing. They're playing hope poker. I hope I make my big hand. And that's what we want to see. So instead of getting all pissed off and storming out after losing 500 bucks, after treading water up and down, getting unlucky over and over and over again, I rebought, tried to get my head back on straight, and then a few hours later, this was my stack. And it ended up leaving up over $1,000 for the session. So what I want to cover are a few things here, just some really basic things to drill into your brain about being able to spot a good juicy table when you have it and why you should be sticking around longer than you normally would, even if you're getting beat up in spots like I just showed you. All right, we'll do a fun little presentation here, make this official, right? So signs you're at a great table, multiple callers in raised pots, and nobody's squeezing you. So if you open, you get 3 or 4 callers, but nobody's putting in that big 4-bet squeeze. People aren't trying to exploit you. They're not doing the things that we're doing to them with controlled chaos. And instead, they're just being passive and they're basically trying to just play bingo and hit a big hand on you. Another sign is that multiple players are just chasing hands down to the river. They're not playing back at you. They're not seizing control of the hand. They're not mixing up their play with any kind of a balanced range. Instead, they're just trying to make a big hand. And on top of that, people are actually having fun. So they're joking, they're laughing. More than a few players are drinking alcohol, and they're definitely giving action. And you want to have at least 2 of these things happening. Let's say you've got a good local casino card room and there's maybe a dozen or more tables running on a Saturday night. You're gonna find these tables. People are having a good time. Sometimes they're doing shots together. They're watching the game. They're cheering for that. People have got money on the game. They're having a good time. They're relaxing. They're not there to just play ruthless winning poker like you are, right? So these are all signs you have a really, really good table that you don't want to leave early. And a huge sign that you're playing bad, you're not just getting unlucky, is when you're not driving the action and instead you're playing like those weaker players that we profile in Controlled Chaos. You're calling down too much, hoping the guy's bluffing, but they rarely are down here unless they're an advanced thinking smart player like we are. You're playing your cards instead of taking control of the table with aggression like we teach you in Controlled Chaos. We have a huge, wide, balanced range, and we're incredibly difficult to figure out. That's how we have those huge winning sessions, not by just trying to make big hands like everybody else is. If you can afford to stick around and you have the time, don't take off, because finding the right combination of players that are giving action, you have a table with mostly weak players. Now you might have a couple strong players in there, some smart thinking players that we teach you about in the masterclass. But this combination doesn't happen very often where it's mostly weak players. They're giving action, they're splashy, they're having fun. So when you find a table like this, seize this opportunity. Don't take off, stay as long as you can and mix it up as long as you can and play true Controlled Chaos style like we teach you with the Core 34. Get in there, mix it up. Use your full 3-betting range, throw in some squeezes, throw in some river bluffs and show your hand when you take it down. All those things we teach you to drive more and more action, build your perfect winning image, then shift gears every now and then like we teach you, and you can absolutely destroy these types of games. And remember, you can make more in one session at a really good table like this than you can struggling to create action in 5 sessions at your typical super tight passive table full of old man coffee types that you're going to run into in a local card room on, say, a Tuesday morning. It's really hard to drum up action at a table like that. But tables like these, you can create so much action in so many spots that it's definitely to your advantage, since you know how to play Controlled Chaos, to stick around as long as possible and use the edge you have over the other players. And more often than not, you're going to end leaving with a stack that looks something like this. So I hope you found that helpful. And as always, if you've got my email with this newsletter, all you have to do is hit reply and send me your questions. I love answering questions from all you guys, and I'll do my best to get to it in one of these upcoming newsletters. All right, good luck at the tables.